Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the League Two Lowdown in partnership with Skybet. We're just going to do this in and out. I'm really not in the mood tonight. I think you can make your own assumptions as to why I'm not in the mood. But we've got Luke with me. Say hi.
Hi.
Perfect. Let's crack on this week. No messing about. Of course, welcome back. If you are new around here, of course, it will be great to have you subscribing to the channel. Go and follow us on our Twitter pages and download the podcast wherever you get our podcast from. Also, before we do start as well, go and follow our TikTok page and go and follow our Instagram page, especially TikTok at the minute. We're starting to upload these sort of short form videos more over there, and some on YouTube as well, but some stuff over there. If you've been following the page already, you'd have already noticed some stuff going on there, and it's something it's a thing that we really want to attack. We really want to do some good stuff on there, and already some of the stuff we posted have been great. So if you want to follow us on there, that'll be really very much appreciated. Let's get straight into this week because there's a lot to talk about. 11 games played. Of course, the game against Cheltenham against Notts County tomorrow night. Won't go into that in detail. I know Luke and Harry talked about it in the podcast on Wednesday night, even the one that came out then. So the game's tomorrow night. Should probably remember that. Let's start straight away. Let's go to probably the game of the day. In fact, no, there's no probably about it. It was the game of the day. Chesterfield hosting Accrington Stanley, finished 3-3 in this one, and it's a game in which wasn't short of talking points. Accrington going 2 goals up in the first half through Tyler Walton. Good finish for the first one, and I think the second one's quite debatable, offside or not. You can make your own assumptions from there. I didn't like his celebration. It looks like he was doing a 6th, 7th. I'm doing it now, and I'm embarrassing myself even more. So
clip it. Oh no!
Tom Naylor did pull one back just before half time, and the turnaround pretty much started from that. You're right.
Yeah. Well, that's. I tell you what. Let's get back to talking about the game. Let's move on as quickly as we can. I tell you what. Yeah, that's totally thrown me. I mean, I was like, when I saw Accrington 2-0 up, I was thinking, oh my god, I am a genius, because I did predict an Accrington win. For those of you that didn't listen to the preview earlier in the week, but it really was like a clash of play styles. Obviously, Aki don't need much of the ball here. A lot of the time, they're happy to sit back and play on the counter because they've got these quick players, but also because they don't have necessarily the technical players to be able to maintain possession. Whereas Chesterfield, on the flip side, have plenty of technical players, love having the ball, and they're more than happy to just kind of camp outside the opposition's box. So, I mean, I knew it would be an interesting game. I didn't necessarily think a 3-3 was gonna be in order, but I mean, absolute credit to Walton especially for the first goal. Good strike. But I think that goal has also exposed a weakness that we keep talking about in Chesterfield's defence, and it's those counter-attacks. They are very vulnerable to those, in my opinion. It's just something I don't think they necessarily have an answer for, and it's one that I think is going to need addressing in January, because I don't think the players they've got can actually deal with that as such. You do have to credit Chesterfield for getting back into the game, of course. To get a point from 2-0 down is decent. I realise I've just technically referenced my own game there. That's fun. But
going back from 2 goals.
Yeah, we'll do, right?
We've had the tale of both worlds, but more on that later.
Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, I think the only disappointing thing from Accrington for me is watching 1 or 2 of those goals back. I think the midfielders get a little bit lazy to the style of play they like to play. They like to get tight in the box. You have 2 lines right there, back to back. I know sometimes you could say that's sitting too deep, but when you're defending a lead against the side with the quality of Chesterfield, you've just got to commit bodies to actually defending, and I just don't think they did that quite as well as I'd hoped they would, because that's usually one of their strengths. But no, I mean, it's still a point they'll take, and a point I'll give them a lot of credit for. There aren't too many teams that will score 3 against Chesterfield, but well, maybe there will be with the way their defending is going currently. But I still think it's a good point for Accrington and a disappointing one for Chesterfield in my book.
Yeah, I'll go through it all a little bit more in a minute. I'll just go through the other goals in the game as well. As I mentioned, Tom Naylor did pull one back just before half-time. I sort of started the turnaround, and then 2 second-half goals from Lee Bonis, another one for him, and James Berry as well, putting the Sparrows 3-2 up. And I think from there, he probably expects him to see the game out. But we know about their defence, and as you've mentioned about style of play for both teams, really, you're probably looking at it on reflection, and you're probably not surprised about the scoreline, actually. There, I think Accrington's equaliser, I think is really poor communication from the goalkeeper. I think it was Lee Bonis as well. It looked like a simple catch for the keeper, but it looked like Bonis decided to sort of get in the way as well. They don't clear it, and Charlie Caton's got a free header, basically, in which he's put it away. And of course, the last minute drama right at the end with Chesterfield getting a penalty. Lee Bonis stepped up, scored the penalty, I think last week against Stevenage in the FA Cup. Had his penalty saved by the goalkeeper in the last minute. Now, I think you look at it from all different angles. I think from Chesterfield, you look at it, right, 2 goals down, you bring it back to 3-2. Obviously finished 3-3 in the end, obviously with a penalty miss last minute. You're obviously going to be disappointed. Quite delighted with the fight back, but again, there was a golden chance to win the game last minute, and they conceded some pretty horrible goals. Like I said, the third one, and as I mentioned, the first goal was actually quite a decent strike. But should it really happen? Could he have cleared their lines there? I don't really know. Whereas for Accrington, they go 2 goals up in the game. They go to lose in the game. They do pinch a goal back as well to equal it at 3-3, and of course their keeper comes up trumps to save a penalty in the last minute. Probably in agreement. It's a much better point for Accrington than it is for Chesterfield. And of course, 3 goals conceded for Chesterfield. Again, it's starting to become a big worry now. How many goals have they conceded? Or they've conceded 24. I'm just looking at the teams around them. They've got 1.
There aren't many teams that have conceded.
I think
more. Certainly not in the top half.
I think from looking at it, 5 teams have neither conceded the same. Well, in Harriet's case, the same, or have conceded more. And really, 4 of those sides are in the bottom 4. So it's certainly
exactly that.
Need to address. But I tell you what, they come to Grimsby next week. We'll probably talk about it in the preview. Whoever's on, I'm not sure if I'm on yet, but it could be high scoring. There's a chance that could be high scoring. I won't mention any more from that, but I guess on the face of it as well, I think for Accrington as well, it's a big point for them against a side that's probably expected to do quite well already. But yeah, saying that, you look at it in the league. They're unbeaten in 4 now at Chesterfield 2. Never mind. Well, yeah, they have unbeaten in 4. They've won 1, but they've also drawn their last 3 games. So the other 2 being 1-1. So it'll be quite an interesting one next week. But yeah, I'm in full agreement. I think it's a better point for Accrington than it is for Chesterfield. Let's talk about your game then, shall we? Barnet 2, MK Dons 2. Barnet go 2 goals up in the game. 2 first half goals from Adam Senior and Mark Shelton from the penalty spot. Jack Saunders did pull one back. I've got to say, really, really nice corner routine. They worked it really well. It was a lovely ball. Just the flick on from, is it Namane? And
it was Hepburn Murphy.
But look, second half, good finish as well from I've lost the pot tonight. Good finish from Nathaniel Mendez-Lang as well. And I know you were talking to me after the game as well, how impressed you were at Dean Brenning's men.
Well, yeah, exactly that. And I mean, those that listen to the pod know how critical I can be of just about anyone, especially if we don't win. So it's just a case of with Barnet, I genuinely was just really, really impressed. They were on our touch constantly. It was just the press. That entire first half, it felt like we just couldn't keep the ball for more than like 5 seconds, and I think Paul Warne said as much in the post match as well. Yeah, we just couldn't, like, even when we got the goal back, that didn't give us any momentum. We had to wait for half time to try and recover anything. I do want to give special mention. I mentioned it on the TikTok as well. Go check it out. But I mentioned Brian Glover. Genuinely, he reminded me of Luke Molyneux, ripping up League Two teams. Just John Mellish had no idea what to do with him, and it's just such a blatant penalty. I am blaming Mellish for both goals, by the way. That's just it. But no, I thought Glover was absolutely fantastic. I think he's a player to watch if he can maintain that level. Probably deserved a much higher match rating than he actually got, to be fair. But obviously, winning the penalty doesn't actually count as an assist in real life terms. So yeah, but no, genuinely Barnet, very, very impressive side. You could maybe argue their level dropped ever so slightly second half, but I think it's more just a case of we learned how to match them. They kind of showed us what we should be doing, and then we eventually kind of figured out, oh yeah, okay, maybe we should be on their touch when they've got the ball and try and actually turn over possession, get the ball high up in their half, and that's where you saw more of a momentum shift. And then obviously the finish from Mendes Lang, absolutely quality. I don't think there are too many in League Two that could pull one off quite like that and keep it that low. He's really starting to come into his own now. I think we're starting to get a fully match sharp Mendes Lang, which is what we'd kind of been waiting for. So obviously delighted with our comeback. Just to get a point from 2-0 down, that's good. Obviously a little bit disappointed because coming into it, we fancy ourselves against everyone. We'd want all three. But given how strong of a side Barnet looked to me, that's still a decent point. Keeps them 3 points away from us, and yeah, as long as we stay ahead of them, I'm absolutely happy, to be honest, because I genuinely think if they play like that every week, they'll get playoffs easily, if not better.
Yeah, look, I was telling to you about Barnet as well. I think in terms of the sides that Grimsby played this season, I think probably Barnet have been the best of the lot. Although it's quite hard to form a real judgment as to how awful we were that day, but take nothing away from them. They fully deserved victory. I think obviously MK being large favourites for, let's be honest, all games for the squad that they've got. I think going away from home, coming back from 2 goals down, I think any sort of team, I think you've got to see that as a very good point. Really good finish. Like I said, really good finish from Nathaniel Mendes Lang. It looked like there's his championship quality right there. Yeah. I'm not really sure how many other players in this league would have really taken that shot off first time and hit it so sweetly into the corner. I don't think there's many that could do that. And I think the other talking point was obviously the indirect free kick. I wasn't sure. I watched the highlights of this. I wasn't sure. But now I can understand why. Now you've pretty much told me. And really, it does make a lot of sense. You might think I'm stupid here, but I didn't know that someone else had to apparently touch the ball before you can sort of take it. I know that one of their players, I can't remember who it was at the top end, I'm really sorry, just shot straight for goal. Obviously scored it, and obviously didn't stud. But I was sort of just staring at it and thinking, like, why has this been disallowed? But there you go, I guess.
It's just, it just became a direct free kick rather than an indirect one. If it had touched any player in our wall, that would have been given as a goal. But because it didn't, it went straight through cleanly. The ref has to disallow it, and it's our ball. So it was a clever idea on their part. I believe it may have actually been Brennan's idea to actually try that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, I rate the attempt. It just didn't work out for him on that occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Right, let's move on, shall we, from a 2-2 draw that you've somewhat enjoyed, in which probably with a point with you contempt against a good side. Grimsby also played a 2-2 draw. I'll be honest, I'm not content with the point. It's sort of, it's the tale of two worlds there. Grimsby went to Barrow, as I mentioned, and picked up a 2-2 draw. I didn't go to the game. It's one of the other games that I've missed so far this season. And look, Barrow's a trip to Barrow has pretty much been the fixture in which we've looked at last couple of years and think, oh, great, that's us losing. So I think before the game, would I have taken a point? Yeah, I probably would have done. It's a tough place to go. Make no mistake about it. But we started off brilliantly. First 15 minutes, Danny Rose back on the score sheet, starting again in the league, up front with KB, who changed the system round. Great to see him. It was a bit scruffy, but it was just typical Danny Rose goal, basically. He's just there to just nod it in. And then a delightful chip from Kieran Green, it's got to be said. Some nice play from back to front just to get into that position. Obviously, Stanway's come running out a little bit, which gives Green that space to somewhat lob it over him. And it was looking like we were, as I said in the TikTok, again, go and check that out. There'll be a few times when that TikTok account is mentioned tonight. It looked like we was on course for what looked to be a pretty comfortable routine victory. And I think anyone that doesn't believe that, I actually think is lying. I thought we was in control for a lot of that game looking at it. And I guess we've got to dissect the two goals from Raheem Harper just before half-time and the one from Charlie McCann in the second half. Where do I begin? Look, I'm just going to call it a spade, well, pretty much as it is, a spade. Christy Pims at pot above. It's as simple as that. It's horrendous goalkeeping, especially for the second one. You can maybe look at the first one, maybe if there's maybe been blindsided a little bit, I don't know, but it looked like he sort of dived a little bit early, and he sort of just completely missed it as well. And then the second one, I've got no words for. It is embarrassing goalkeeping, really. There's been a couple of that now. There's been a couple of mistakes of that because I think Pym was beaten at his near post in the game against Ebbsfleet in the FA Cup. So he's had a couple like that now, but he needs to stamp that out his game very quickly. I'm loath to be too critical of him because I genuinely think he has been really good on the whole this season. But that we need to make sure that can't happen again for him because that was a big reason why we didn't win the game yesterday. I'm loath to say it was all of the reason because, again, the game should have been out of sight. We should have put the game to bed much earlier. And if Evan Corey could hit, if he had a little bit more composure about it, maybe playing a league above. I was really annoyed about yesterday because the third time this calendar year we've blown a 2-goal lead, and once again we're asking the same questions about are we mentally not up to it? Is it this, that, and the other? But 2 mistakes have cost us again, and we really need to stamp that out of our game. It's easy to say, but if we were just a little bit more ruthless in these games, even if we do make the mistakes, if we're just a little bit more ruthless in these games, we're probably on the same amount of points as Walsall. But again, it's easy to say. I mean, I'd have taken a point before kickoff. I was not content with a point at the end. I think you've got to give Barrow some credit for the fight back, but those 2 goals should not be going in. They should not be going in, especially that second one. It's the two. They've got a little bit of power, but the routine saves for a goalkeeper, the bread and butter, it should be dealt with easily. And I'm struggling to think of where else Barrow sort of did anything of note. It did look like we should have shot near the end. I was quite disappointed. I was just really angry yesterday. We've just taken 3 points and we've just thrown 2 of them in the bin. That's what it felt like yesterday. And then, I had to really calm down because I was quite angry with that, actually.
I can tell, just a little bit. But no, unfortunately, it kind of does come down to the keeper on this one. I do agree there is an element of letting teams back into games a little bit, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's not being up for it. I'd say there's an element of complacency in there.
Sorry, I don't know. I mean, I think one thing I haven't mentioned as well, I think the overriding performance was actually good. It's just those moments. It just looked like 2 brain farts. That's what it looked like. And it's cost us.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's especially frustrating because it's someone like Christy Bimmer as well, because he's a goalkeeper I personally rate quite highly. He's someone I'd expect, maybe one of those mistakes in a blue moon, but for two in one game, that just seems a little off to me. Uh, I mean, it's something he's obviously going to have to get to the bottom of what wasn't going for him in that game, because it's rare for a goalkeeper of that quality to, drop one quite that badly. But yeah, it's just one you kind of have to just move on from as quick as you can. Say, right, that's individual error. Not much you can do about it. And on to the next one. Obviously, as you say, you would have taken a point before the game. It's more just the nature of the point that's kind of ruined that for you. So it's now just a case of, right, as a team we take that move on. With him, it's a case of, okay, I've really got to sort it out here. Kick on. Next performance has to be a good one, because I mean, if you're doing that as a goalkeeper and you do it a few games in a row, you're not going to be the starting goalkeeper for very long. And he's a good enough keeper that I would expect him to bounce back from that.
And it's also, just very quickly before we move on, it's not great when you make mistakes anyway. But as a goalkeeper, there's absolutely nowhere to hide from it, because 9 times, or pretty much 10 out of 10 times, it'll lead to a goal. Whereas as an outfielder, there's still a chance to have a bit of a moment of madness in there, or you've got other players to help you bail it out. You can't do that as a goalkeeper. Look, I back him all the way. Like I said, I think overall he's been good for us. He's been good for what we have done for the majority of the season. I just don't want that to be the norm now, because there's been a couple of games in which he's done that. Because like I said, Ebbsfleet, I think he's again, I don't think he's fully at fault, but I think he's part of the problem with that. And like I said, I don't really want to put the whole blame on him. I think it's more 70-30 though. But at the same time, again, as I've mentioned, we should have been out of sight. That game should have been won much quicker. We needed that third goal. We didn't do it. We shot ourselves in the foot again. So we need to stand that out. But I'm going to move on, because I'm going to get more mardy. I was pretty mardy of that, as you could probably tell. Walsall went to Notts. They didn't go to Notts County, Walsall. They went to Newport County, and they picked up a very good 4-2 victory. They were made to work for it. Newport did take the lead in the game, but it was a very good half actually. Kylie Whitmore with their first goal, and then it was just a case of Daniel Carnu, and then a brace from Ryan Finnegan to put them 3-1 up. Of course, they did pull one back before half time. Of course, it's from a long throw. I think it's from what's his name? Lee Jenkins. He's got a monster long throw in him as well. But they managed to get that goal quite early-ish in the second half, did Walsall, and sort of saw the game out from there. I think no real surprises. Looked the better team throughout. Was a little bit of I think there was a little bit of fortune in the goals. Looking at it, I think I don't think it's wrong to suggest that. But again, they've gone to a side. They've just done what they needed to do. Really, they've gone to a side there. Yes, they've had setbacks in the game, and have put in a somewhat professional performance, and have got 3 points out of it. And they're still top of the league. They're still tied on points with Swindon, but they've just done what they needed to do. And Newport didn't really have much of an answer when that fourth goal went in. In terms of the score, I don't think you could probably. I think if you look at it just on face value, it's what you'd probably expect top v bottom. But like I said, they didn't have it all their own way. Newport did dominate the possession, but we've noticed that from Walsall, the side in which at times they don't really like a lot of the ball, but it's how deadly they are off it, and some of their movement and how they get players into good position. They had 17 shots, 10 on target, 4 goals yesterday. Yes, they were helped by a couple of them, I do think. But at the same time, they've got players in there that are just ready to capitalise, and 4 goals away from home, no matter the opposition, is very good going, and it's what promotion contenders look. I think we're sort of loath to say that with Walsall, as I think it's probably a sense of it's still a little bit early considering last year, but again, you can't help but look at them at the minute and look like they're doing really well again this year, and they'll probably be right up there.
I mean, you'd hope they would be based on the way they've started the season.
History doesn't repeat itself, basically. There's always that.
But yeah, I mean, I do obviously have a slight concern. Obviously, it's a bit nitpicky, but for me, conceding two to Newport has to be a concern. However, I will say that first goal for Newport was actually just a very good move. So credit to them for that. But then it's just a desire of Walsall that you can't really look past. You know, they just want it. They just wanted to win a whole lot more. You know, obviously we can say, oh yeah, maybe 3 of those goals were potentially scrappy, but when it comes to those situations, it is just which player wants that ball more. And in those cases, it has been Walsall and not Newport. I do think Newport perhaps could have marked the Walsall players a whole lot better for all 3 of them. Yeah, I didn't think it needed to be as scrappy as it was, but credit to Walsall that you can only play what you're up against essentially. Like um, yeah, it's just if you're scoring 4 goals away from home, there's not too much you can really complain about, regardless of who the opposition are or form or anything like that. It's probably not the most conventional way to grind out a win, but they've got it done. And just with regards to the whole possession thing, I actually think if they tried to play for more of the ball, I don't think that they'd have performed as well. That's not how they play. If they have 50% possession, I think that becomes a much closer game. You've got to be able to impose your style of play on games, and for Walsall, that's actually just not having the ball and being able to attack quickly when you are able to turn over possession. So for me, I think that's just a well executed game plan, albeit with a couple of hitches in there with a couple of goals conceded. But it's 3 points, and that's the bit that matters.
And that's it. And one thing I just noticed as well, that actually that win stops the rot in the league after 3 games without win, 2 defeats and a draw. Obviously, their last league game, they played a couple of cup games in that, but their last league game, of course, coming against Cheltenham and that last minute goal for them. So in that sense, back to winning ways in the league. And I think you can ask any Walsall fan, and they'll happily take that result. Newport, we know that obviously they don't look great, do they? They have, like I said, they had picked up in recent weeks. Those 2 wins against Accrington and Harrogate could be what's key come the end of the season. Of course, they did lose to Cheltenham last time out. And their next league game is in fact against Shrewsbury. That'll be another big game for them, in which we'll touch on. But yeah, it's not looking good. I think it's fair to say, and it's pretty much been like that for pretty much throughout this whole season. The bottom, and you've got other teams picking up points. Like I said, they have proven that they can pick up points. It's doing it consistently over, not just beating. I mean, beating the teams around them goes a long way, but you've got to try and also beat some of the teams that are just even mid-table wise. You've got to try and get some points where you can, and I'm just struggling to see that from Newport at the minute.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I've kind of constantly expressed my concerns with Newport, and I think they're showing more signs than they were. Like I said, I mean, that opening goal is a huge indication of what they're capable of, because that was genuinely a very nice goal, well worked from start to finish. But they can't maintain that, and they've instantly switched off and conceded twice, which is where the problem lies. They're never on it for a full 90. And obviously this game exposes that a whole lot more than some of their other performances have. But I do still think that lack, for want of a better word, lack of focus is kind of been there in some of the other games as well. You can see it with the defending. I do have concerns for them at this point. I'm not too sure where they go with it at this stage, because it's just you need any kind of result just to get you off the bottom, just anything that you can take momentum from. Unfortunately, I don't think, despite scoring 2, I don't think this result is that for them, and especially with the home form as well. They've not won at home since March. Like, that's a huge problem. For most teams, the majority of your points come at home. So to not ever win at home, I mean, that's kind of enough said there, isn't it, really?
Yeah. And you've got to win your home games as well, or at least you've got to take some points. And if you've not won home games, it's March, then you've really got nowhere to stay in this league at the minute. Two more games I have to cover in great detail. Let's start. Let's have a look at the two early kickoffs. As there, I think probably the entertaining ones. Let's go to Crewe first. 3-1 victors at home to Shrewsbury Town. Some very nice goals in this one as well. I really liked Owen Lunt's goal. I really liked Tommy O'Reilly's goal for them, and great to see Omar Bogle back on the score sheet as well. I feel like he's been the forgotten man for them in the last few months. And you can see what that goal meant to him as well. Took it really well. The shirt's off, and you can really see the players' reactions. And it looks like he's a real valuable member in the changing room. And even that, I really like Josh Ruffles' goal for Shrewsbury as well. I thought it was a really nice finish as well. Big result for Crewe. Really picking up. I mean, back-to-back wins in the league for them, of course, beating Grimsby. I was quite impressed with Crewe, actually. They deserved the victory on the day. No complaints from me from it. I don't think it really spoke about it on the pod, but there were no complaints from me. It looked like they were still pretty much with Lee, but I think admit earlier, like concerns about his position. Yet again, I feel like that'll be a constant. There'll be probably a couple more times in which we're going off like that. But again, they've got the job done, and probably deservedly so. I did watch little bits of this game as well. Tommy O'Reilly looked like he had a very good game from what I've seen. Again, took his goal really well and looks like he was a real vocal point for them in attack. They've just got some good players, and when it does click, they're a good team, and you can see why that they probably will push. Yes, they have moments. They have runs in. They do have little runs in which they've been terrible, but they also do go on like a couple of. They do have these couple of games in which actually that you look at them and go, actually, they look like a really good side. And I mean, this is a Shrewsbury side that have picked up quite a fair bit as well in their league. Well, unbeaten in 4, 2 wins, 2 draws. So they're really starting to find their feet amongst earlier concerns in the season, because they started off dreadfully, and there was already talk about relegation. I think some of those words have eased off a tad. And I know it's easy to say because, I mean, look, they're still 23rd in the table. They've still got to get themselves out of it. It probably doesn't help that there's most of the teams around them are starting to pick up points a little bit. But again, if they can just sort of find a little bit more in them just to pick up a couple of wins and a couple of draws here and there, they might be pushing up the table a little bit. Like I said, they've got that game against Newport next, which already looks a massive one in their season, as well as Newport's. So I don't know. There's maybe some crumbs for comfort there, but yeah, it looked like Crewe deserved the win on the whole. Looked a really good team, and it looks like it's starting to find their feet again. It sort of got that impression, like I said, amongst early concerns of what we originally had with Crewe. Some really good goals in the game, really good victory. I think it's got to be said.
Yeah, I'd say you're spot on with that assessment, to be fair. I think it just comes down to quality in the final third. I think getting the opening goal for Crewe, that would have been crucial for them. I think they're very much, all sides are mentality-based sides, of course, but I feel like with Crewe, that's especially relevant just because, they've got a young squad. We obviously mention that a lot. But for me, I think just for confidence, that would have done them a lot of good, especially after a run of games where things haven't necessarily gone as they would have hoped. Obviously they were paid back, but obviously went on to go and get 2 more. So again, just good fight, a well sort of round out result for Crewe for me. It's just quality in the final third. It really is. I mean, you look at Shrewsbury, 16 shots, 2 on target. That's kind of tells the story for them. With Crewe, it's 21 and 6, and obviously 3 of those have gone in. So there's not too much in it, but it's just in those key moments, Crewe were better, and they obviously generated those better chances that a little bit more often. I think from a Shrewsbury perspective, my concern is more the way they go about defending, or at least when it came to this game anyway. It felt like they were putting their defenders very much in, not one-on-ones in the sense that you're about to go for on goal, but their defender is left on his own to do that bit of defending. It is one-on-one defending constantly. They never group up and try and have 2 or 3 players really get in the way or get in your face the way that Barnet would have done against us, for example. I feel like Shrewsbury is very much right. That's your job. You do that. I'm staying over it. This is my position. I will do this. I just want to see more of that team mentality from Shrewsbury to be able to get the ball back. and I think especially with the Crewe goals, I think if they just get bodies in the way a little bit more, I think they could have prevented a couple of them. That's not to say that they were good, still good goals, good finishes by Crewe, of course. But I just think Shrewsbury could have done more, and I think an improved team mentality of right, this is how we're going to defend together. I think that would improve them in the long run, and especially when it comes to playing a potentially crucial game against Newport coming up as well.
Yeah, potentially. I sort of half agree with that. I'll tell you what as well. I've mentioned about Bogle, and I've mentioned it's great to see him scoring again. It's coming at such a good time because we're not far away from January, and you know what I'm sending into the group chat come midnight on New Year's Day. The countdown picture where it just says announce Bogle. Yes, the King's coming home. You know, I'm going to keep doing this every transfer window. It's still out there in the flesh as to how I do go about things as well, especially with former players and as much stuff with Bogle. It'll one day it'll happen.
It's not happening.
I'm holding on to hope. Kieran could probably.
It's not happening, Jordan. It's not happening.
As long as there's still transfer windows, and as long as he's still playing football, I believe one day it'll happen.
He'll be in his 60s and he'll say, "Oh, he's coming to Grimsby. Here we go."
It could be like 74, and I'd still want him. What I'd do to see him and Podrick Hammond link up front again together. Honestly, the dream team as it was. I'm living so much in the glory days. Or was it? I'll let you make your own assumptions. Let's move on to our final game. I've ranted enough about my love for Omar Bogle. Let's have a look at Colchester 0, Bromley 2. I'll tell you what, again, if you're following on TikTok, I called this game. I sort of gave it an honourable mention. I think we picked our game of the day. I could say it now. I picked Barnet and K Dons as my game of the day, and it didn't disappoint. It wasn't quite the game of the day. Not quite. I do think the Chesterfield Aki game was a little bit better, just a bit. Obviously 3 goals under 10, and yeah, but it wasn't far off. But I also gave a shout out to this game because Colchester Bromley, just on the face of it, just looked a real battle, and it was one that Bromley got the upper hand of. Another set piece goal from Omar Sawumni, header from a Mitch Pinnett free kick. Again, this was a game that I was watching a bit of Crewe, and I was watching a bit of this game. Header from a set piece. What was it that was put in the chat yesterday? That was like before that. It was like this from their 22, 23 goals they scored. They scored the season.
13 out of 21, so it's now 14 out of 22, I believe, something like that.
That's just ridiculous, isn't it? And that probably tells you everything you need to know about Bromley. And you'll be pleased to know, or more surprised to know. I mean, Michael Cheek scoring probably comes as a surprise to no one really at this stage. But it was from open play. Arguably a little bit of a mistake from Colchester's end for it. But it's a goal from open play, and you give Michael Cheek that sort of space, and you sort of give him that opportunity. Let's be honest, it ends up in the net. I was quite disappointed in the second half of Colchester. Look, from watching the majority of the game, they missed a setter first half. I think it was Kyrie Slisby. We did so much better than that, and I think if that went in, it probably would have been a different story. Bromley, the professionals they are, they've gone there, and again they've got the job done. They're solid as ever. Tough team to break down. You can see why they're doing so well this season, up to 9th now. Only a point outside the playoff zones and the playoff places. Just a strong side, as you've probably come to expect. Keeping a clean sheet at a place like Colchester as well, I think is also really pleasing. I think it was the perfect day. I think it's pretty much the perfect away performance. I think they executed their game plan brilliantly, and they've got 3 points from it. And like I was quite disappointed in Colchester's performance. It's sort of a defeat in which they have picked up in recent weeks. They have picked up a lot, but I think to see it ended like that, especially with how they looked like in the second half, I think has disappointed me slightly. But taking enough away from Bromley, they've gone and got the job done, and it could be a big one coming in this season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think all credit to Bromley, as you say, game plan executed to perfection. Our opening goal set piece, we come to expect that at this point. And then a bit of a sucker punch breakaway goal for the second, just to finish off the game. But from a Colchester perspective, this game really frustrated me. I think especially just looking at the first half as well, I feel like Colchester had a lot of control and just didn't necessarily do enough with it. I know they only managed one shot on target in either half.
Is that also down to Bromley as well?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. There is an element of good defending there, but I do think from the chances they had, I would expect them to do better. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm at a point where I can say that for whatever reason, regardless of how good the chances regardless of how good the chances they create are, if Jack Payne's not in that side, for some reason they just don't finish them. Like I don't know why that is, but that seems to be a bit of a correlating theme. I do think they definitely missed him. Not being in the side, he's such a key component to their attack, being in that sort of free role. Yeah, I think it was Mbik that dropped into that gap actually for that game. But for me, even without Payne, I think they had enough chances to do more. It's just quality just wasn't there on the day. And if that's the case, Bromley are a good enough side to punish you, and that's exactly what happened. So it's a conundrum that Colchester are going to have to figure out, because I don't think the performance was necessarily that bad. It was literally just final third, learn to shoot, please. Kyrie Slisby, please. Like at some point, do not become Kane Drummond. Thank you.
But what I would say, what I've seen of Colchester, mainly at home, this isn't the first rodeo. There's been so many times this has happened to them already this season. I mean, they really should have more points than what they should do. But for one reason or another, with their finishing and whatnot, again, especially at home, it's just not happened for them. It just hasn't.
Yeah, pretty much bang on. I honestly don't have too much to add to that. It's just with the players they've got, and it just feels like they should be doing a whole lot better. They're really not far off becoming a very, very strong side. I mean, even in the FA Cup against us, they went toe to toe to us, even without Payne, and they gave us a good battle. Obviously, yes, they did lose that one in the end, but they were very much in that game, and I just want to see them bring that same energy into their league fixtures, because they are capable. They're 100% capable. I can't quite put a finger on why it's not working, because I don't want to say, oh yeah, Jack Payne's not inside, that's kind of it, because like I said, I think they can still do it without him. It's just for whatever reason that's not transpiring to actual results.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can't argue with much there. I do agree. I think they completely missed him yesterday. You can see he's the linchpin in midfield, and it just feels at times they just looked a bit lost without him, and that's what I got. That's what I got from that. But yeah, look, good win for Bromley, as said. Let's have a look through the 5 games that also took place yesterday. I'll be honest, not really much in these games, including one of them. I think, look, Bristol Rovers 0, Gillingham 1. Gillingham are back to winning ways. Great to see Gareth Ainsworth back, though. I think he was in the stands for this one. I think, what was it, 5 games without a win for Gillingham now in the league. Max Clark making amends from his first half penalty miss was an absolute rocket. Beautiful finish. And, a very good victory for them. It was a game in which Bristol Rovers dominated in possession, shots, and whatnot. But, they fall to their 4th straight league defeat. I've been very underwhelmed with Bristol Rovers this year so far, considering they're, again, one of the favourites for automatic promotion in this league. They've been, at times, way off. In fact, no, the five straight league defeats as well. I completely missed the fact that they lost to Walsall as well. They're in a real bad spot at the minute. They need to get out of this quickly. I mean, what else do we want to say? Just been really, really underwhelmed by them. But Gillingham, much needed. They needed that. And, what a goal to get them it as well. Crawley picked up a good win against Fleetwood. Again, probably the inconsistencies at times of Fleetwood, albeit they did win 2. They did win 2 and drew drew one of their last 3. But I think the early red card for Zach Medley sort of set the tone in that one. They go 2 goals down in the game with a goal from Louis Flowers, or Louis Flower even. And a goal from Harry Force. I did pull one back at the end through James Bolton, but you also got a sense that when it was 2-0, or even at 1-0, I sort of felt that it kind of felt like game over at the time, really. I mean, even against Crawley, in which I was, we had this discussion last week now about them after their defeat to Boreham Wood. But ultimately, you're looking in league, back-to-back league wins for them, both at home. Good for them to build up a little bit. But yeah, just there's a load of inconsistency in this league, and I think Fleetwood epitomise it at the minute. I'm moving on. I can't speak. Harrogate lost to Oldham. A win away from home for Oldham. Manny Mock with the early goal again of the game. A clean sheet for them, as we probably come to expect from Oldham. Big question marks now. I think probably do have to be aimed at Harrogate. 5 straight league defeats again for them. Not looking good at the minute, especially with some of the other teams around them starting to pick up points a little bit. Oldham just done what they needed to do. Obviously reduced to 10 men as well, with Ryan Woods being red carded in that one. Salford drew 0-0 with Cambridge. And Swindon picked up a late 2-1 victory against Tranmere. Big for them. Ollie Palmer with the goal in 74 minutes. It looked like Christian Dennis managed to salvage what could look like a very good point for Tranmere, but upset Finn Munro in the 93rd minute to give Ian Holloway's men all 3 points and to take them joint top of the table alongside Walsall. Quick thoughts?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give the Cambridge games a bit of love, even if it doesn't necessarily deserve it.
I'm looking at that. Jesus Christ.
I'm going to highlight Cambridge as a team, though, just because that game specifically frustrated me with them, just because they are another team that loves set pieces, and they got 4 corners in that entire game, and I think there was 1 shot on target in that game across both teams. And I know Cambridge hit the post once, but for me, just shoot. Just even if you're getting corners, you are a set piece team. You like corners, use them. It just, even if that means taking pot shots from 25, 30 yards out, if you're the sort of team that can benefit from those sort of set play situations, why not take more risks in that situation? Obviously it's an ongoing problem with them that they're not good enough from open play, but at least just take some risks. That's pretty much what I'm saying. I suppose you could probably say specifically for that game the same about Salford, but I don't want to criticise them because we're about to play them, so I'll leave it at that for now.
Perfect. I don't really have too much to add on any of them, really. Like I say, good win for Swindon leaving it. Good win for Oldham on the road. I've got concerns for Bristol Rovers, as I do for Harrogate, and that Salford Cambridge game. I mean, was it 1 shot on target all game? And it looked like a game. Just on face value, I've not seen the highlights or anything like that, but just from that alone, it just looked like a game of that was missing a real spark in that. And I know there's obviously players at which can provide that for both teams. I didn't even mention about Fabio Barini signing for a few weeks back now, but yeah, that's apparently happened. I'm not sure if this was ever mentioned, but there we go. A bit like Britson Malonga signing for Barnet. What are these weird transfers happening? Well, what year are we in? What a mad league this is. But I think we'll leave it there. Another weekend done and dusted. Obviously, we've got Cheltenham against Notts County to come tomorrow night. We'll probably do a quick look at that one in the preview show for this week. We'll just spend a couple of minutes on it. Looks to be a very good game. I know you pointed that out as your game of the round. Of course, 2 informed sides as well, both at somewhat the 2 different ends of the table. Obviously, no, not Cambridge. I'm losing the plot tonight. Cheltenham near the bottom. Notts County, they've done all right for themselves. They're near the top. I think it could be a really good game, and I think they played a really good game last season. If it's anything like that, we're in for the belt tomorrow night. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. And it's pretty much it from you, unless you have anything else.
No, that's pretty much it. Follow the TikTok.
Perfect. Yeah, follow the TikTok. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. This has been Jordan. You've also been listening to Luke. This has been the League 2 Lowdown. We'll see you on the next episode in the week for the preview. And take care for now. We'll see you soon.